visa to France. As you may know, I'm a real estate agent in the US. I'm also a new flight attendant, and I went to France before I became a flight attendant. And just a heads up, I'm on ready reserve today as a flight attendant, and they may call me to go work. So if they call me, I will have to drop you guys and come back later, but I'm gonna make this informative and you're gonna know all the details of how I got a long stay visa and how I lived in France. Some of you may have seen my other videos. If not, please like, subscribe, and watch them of how I lived in France for a year with my rescue dog. I also have a video on how to bring your animals to France. So if you have any questions, can definitely drop them below or watch my video or both. Yes, so I actually have had 3 long stay visas. So I know a little bit about the process. And I went to get my visa in France. I'm sorry, I lived in France, but yes, I went to go get my actual visa, excuse me, in Atlanta. You can actually choose the visa. It's called VFS Office Global, VFS Global Office, nearest you. I think there's one in LA. Um, where else? That's the only other one I've considered going to, LA, and I always go to the Atlanta one, so I know a lot about that location. Over the years, they have changed the process a little bit, but just so I'm gonna be looking at this paper because it tells exactly what was on my application to get it processed. I'm gonna take a sip of water. So, once you decide that you want to go to France, you apply online. You apply at the official website for visa applications to France. And you go ahead and you have to have these things. I'm gonna read off because there's like a checklist. You can see the checks here. So the application form has to be dated and signed, and you must print it and return the original when filing the application. So what that means is, hi Mohammed, thank you for bonjour, comment ça va? Thank you for joining. Thank you guys for joining. So if you don't know, I'm talking about how to receive a long stay visa. I lived in France for a year and I brought my rescue dog. I also lived in France for like another year in high school. Merci beaucoup, Mohammed. um, I lived in France my last year of high school. It was a dream because I was like 17. Um, I'm going back to my visa application, but it was just like, I couldn't drink in the US, but I can drink in France, So it's just like a different world, right? And I'm living near the Champs-Élysées. I have allowance. I have a beautiful apartment. I'm not paying for any of it. And I'm going to the American School of Paris. Where am I from? So originally I'm from a little city outside of Detroit, Michigan called Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. And that's where I grew up the majority of my life. But I've been studying French since I was 17. I started off with Spanish and I was speaking Spanish when I moved to France. I learned that in high school and then I had to switch because it was getting way too confusing. Where are you from, Mohammed? Thank you. Okay, so back to the list. So I went to the application office in Atlanta, Georgia. Um, and what you'll need is you'll need an application. You'll go online, you'll do the application online. You'll have to print it out, you have to sign it. What you need, the second item on the list is you'll need a travel document issued less than 10 years ago, containing at least 2 blank pages. And what they mean by travel document is your passport. So you need your passport, you need at least 2 blank pages with a period of validity for at least 3 months or longer than the date on which you intend to leave the Schengen area. I never know how to pronounce that. CHHSCHENGEN area or in case of a long stay, at least 3 months longer than the expiry date of the visa requested. Be sure to transmit, scan all pages of your travel document containing visas, entries, and entry and exit stamps, or any other inscription. Oh, thank you. We have a really nasty comment. I won't even read that. I'm just gonna mask it and keep it moving. Because people who are doing well are doing better. Don't go on other people's lives and leave like horrible messages. So continue on with the day that you deserve. Next. So, on the list of things that you need, I'm reading just off the list that I use to get an approved visa. You need a France visa receipt, and it must be printed and returned in original when filing the application. And you need your ID photograph. Um, the next thing that you need is, if you are not a US citizen, you need to provide proof of your legal status, like a green card, or you need what is it, an I-94 or endorsed 120 or F1 visa holder. You need proof of that, or DS 2019 or J1 visa holders. The travel endorsement will be with a signature, is valid for 1 year, and must be not expire before the date of the return to the US. And also, the next thing that you need is, if you have an official travel document, you need to note um, verbal, and it is required. I'm not sure what that is. Official travel document just means like passport. So I don't know why they're making it like so confusing. But the next thing that you need is the purpose of your stay. So why are you going to France? Just to explain that in like layman terms, all I said was, I'm traveling to France to learn more about the French culture and perfect the French language. Like, it doesn't have to be anything really deep. Mohammed asked a good question. What do you do for a living? So, some of you missed the beginning of the live. I'm a real estate agent. I've been a real estate agent for more than 6 years, I would say. I don't even know. It's been so long. But right now, I work as a real estate agent, and I work as a flight attendant. I work for an international company. I don't know what's going on with me today. I can't speak, but I'm a flight attendant, and I work for an international company. I'm based in Denver, and um, I've been doing that for almost a year. So I think that a lot of us can just change um, occupations, but my travel is always in the front of my mind. That's what I do for a job now. I love to live abroad, but I live in Denver. Um, Anyways, so I'm a flight attendant. What do you do, Mohammed? And where are you from? Uh, yeah, so, and if Ready Reserve calls me, because I'm on Ready Reserve as a flight attendant, so I'm on Ready Reserve for 24 hours. So if they call me, then I will have to go off of this live and get ready to go to the airport to work. I'm already packed. I have everything laid out. I have my uniform laid out. So if they call me, I have 3 hours to get to the airport, and I need to run. But yeah, so that's what I do, and I love it. I think I will probably try to go to France this month, because I have 5 days off of my job, but I also have to make money. And as a new flight attendant, it's very hard to balance the desire for travel and then your actual budget. So I'm working on a really, really tight budget. It seems like a glamorous job. It's a lot of hard work. There is a lot of fun to the job, but it's also, you don't get paid a lot as your first year flight attendant. And as you go up more and more, you get paid more and more. So back to the list. Keep asking your questions. I'll always answer. I love the questions. Thank you. So, purpose of staying. So, why are you going to France? I just wanted to go and learn about French culture, to perfect my French language speaking skills, to take French classes, And also in the next section, you have to write out the promise not to exercise any professional activities in France. And you have to write a letter explaining your project. So let's see. I'm going to like a lot of ice in your drink. Okay, I'm gonna put this question and response up. Oh shoot, it disappeared. Okay, let me see. Uh, I don't know how to do it. There's like a little like question and answer thing that popped up, but it disappeared. So we will see if we can do it again. Oh, it didn't come up. Oh, anyways, if it comes up again, I'll do it. And then also you need a proof of enough resources to cover all expenses during the trip. So that means that you have to show at least, I think, 3 months. You have to show 3 months of living expenses for your long stay visa. So what I had to do is show all of my bank accounts, all my statements. I had to print out the statements for 3 months before that on how, I'm able to support myself in France. And and then on the second page, it shows, um, proof of accommodation. So basically, you need a property title, a deed, a tenancy agreement, which is just like a lease, or any other supporting documents or proof that accommodations will be provided by a person residing in France. Or if not, you need a document explaining the accommodation arrangements planned for France. So that gets a lot of people tripped up. Like, okay, I'm going to France for a year. I don't know exactly where I'm staying. And I don't know how to explain that before I even get to France. So what I did, I have friends in France. Um, I just simply said, you know, that I'll be staying here, or you can just say, go to maybe like a travel booking website and just put in the dates of travel and say that you'll be staying at this hotel and print it out. Um, they're actually not really going to call and see if you're really staying there. They're not going to talk to the person. You may have to put the person's number or address and explain what you're doing in France, but just show that you have an accommodation. The next thing and one of the last things that you need is you need to show that you have travel insurance. So it just explains that travel health insurance certificate issued by the insurance company. So if you have, let's say, Blue Cross Blue Shield, I called them and said, hey, I need to know that I'm covered when I leave the States. Do you cover up to a certain amount? And it has to be a minimum of 30,000 euros, valid in France for your entire stay. And I literally just got them to write down, like, I'm covered for the minimum of this amount for these dates. And I gave them that sheet. There's no, I don't think they check or call them or anything, but you do have to have it from a company. And you can even buy travel insurance, which is very affordable. Um, and you have to have a copy of your American health insurance card. It's not acceptable proof just to have the card. You actually have to have a letter from your insurance company. And then they also ask for providing any additional documents. So I went to the office, and let me give you like a little bit of a tip. I went to the office, and unfortunately, my Uber driver, we got caught in traffic. I was late. And when I got there to Atlanta in the office, they were so upset at me because I was late. That is a no-no. So they almost canceled my appointment, which they will do because I was actually late one time, a couple years before, and the person came downstairs to the door of the building. The office in Atlanta is on Peachtree, and it's a huge building. And she came down and she's like, "We're doing college applications right now, so I'm sorry, we cannot accept your appointment. You were late." So do not be late. That is my number one tip if you want to get a long stay visa to France. Um, so I was late. So I had to leave, and then I didn't apply for another 2 years. So this year In I think February, I applied. I had all my documents. I was running late. I flew in on a personal trip, and I had all my documents. I got on the Uber. We were in traffic in Atlanta, and if you know, you know. Atlanta always has traffic. So just prepare for traffic. Even if you're going like a mile or 10 minutes away, there's always traffic in Atlanta. So I got there and they let me up. They kind of grilled me for being late, but they took my application. I even had to say, like, can we start again? Because the guy that I met with was a little bit intense. He was like kind of like raising his voice at me, kind of like, where are your documents? And the other girl next to him, there's three windows, three people, one, two, three. And the other girl next to him in the window was like, yeah, why were you late? We were waiting for you. So I had to kind of like reset the tone and apologize and take it and then move on. So I started speaking French to one of the girls there in the office. She's from Guadeloupe, and that kind of like seized the moment. And then I started with my documents. They will charge you for copies. So I didn't have all the copies of my application, and this is what they're going to charge you. Let me just look on my receipt. They're gonna charge you $4 for each document that they have to make a copy for. And they have to send these documents to Washington, and that will cost courier service will cost you $35. And the VFS service charges, that's the visa fee, will cost you $104. Yeah. So, and that might have been, yeah, so the total that I paid there was $143 out the door, and that's what was collected. So, um, I sent all my documents. I actually had to do something, add more documents. Like they needed my total bank statements. I didn't have all my bank statements. So there's a FedEx downstairs in Atlanta. I went down to the FedEx. I printed out some of my bank statements really quickly. They said there was a problem with my insurance letter. Like it didn't explain exactly what it needed. Like 30,000 is a minimum, but it needed to make sure that I was covered for the year. So I had to like redo that, and I had to print it out. And then they said, we will give you like literally 30 minutes to go downstairs to FedEx to reprint these documents and get clarification and then come back up here and then I will finish your application. If you are 31 minutes over the time, if you are 1 minute over the time, we will make sure that you do not get in and your application will be sent as is. So I got all the documents I could. I didn't get all the documents that he needed. I didn't bring my insurance information because I couldn't get it that fast. So he's like, well, you don't have the insurance information, but I'm just going to send it like this. And for me, I had already submitted the insurance information very similar in my last application. So I knew it wasn't a problem. He was just being like a little bit of a stickler, I would say. Um, so we moved on, paid my fee. You go into this room, they take your picture. It's like a biometrics, and this picture is going to be on your visa. She told me it was not going to be on my visa, but it ended up being the picture on my visa, and I hate the picture. But okay, so I gave them my passport, I gave them my documents, I gave them everything, and then, like, let's say maybe a few days later, I got an email from Washington, and they're like, we need some more documents for your visa, and we need to know that your work approves that you live abroad. And I had to send in something that says like my work is a global company. I can live anywhere in the world. Um, and I had to send that back to them. And I don't know that with my job now that I could actually live abroad. And that's the sad thing about this document. And it's probably why I've gotten a visa more than 3 times, because each time I get a visa, I cannot stay in France for the entirety of the time. One time, I became a plus-size model, and I was working and getting paid very well, and I had to leave. They only allowed me to live in France for 6 weeks, and then I had to go back to work. I was living in Charlotte, North Carolina at that time, and I had to leave, so I never renewed my visa. So I got a long stay visa that time, and then another time, I got a visa and I just wasn't able to go. And then this time I got a visa and I'm a flight attendant in Denver and I'm on reserve. And if any of you know any flight attendants, you know that on reserve is a very like stressful part of the job. Like you don't know when you're going to be called. You have some free time, but like today I'm on ready reserve as a flight attendant and I can be called or I cannot be called, but I can't go anywhere. Like I can go drive around in my city. I can go, let's see. I'm gonna put a question up on here. Have you ever traveled to France? Have you ever lived in France? Let's just say that. All right. Yes. Okay. Uh-oh, I don't want that on my face. Have you ever lived in France? Please let me know if you have. Okay, I'm gonna put that up there. Have you ever lived in France? Let me know. So, so unfortunately, I know this process very well, how to get your visa. Um, and so back to I left the office, I turned in all my documents, and like I said, I got an email from Washington from the visa office, and they asked me, does my company allow me to live in France? So I had to say something like, yes, it's a global company. We are uniting the world, letting people live wherever they want to, so it's okay. But in reality, as a flight attendant, like I was saying, on reserve, it's very hard to live overseas. I have put my application in to live in London. That's our satellite base that we have there. But unfortunately, on reserve, it'd be very hard to live in France, even in London, because London is 3 hours away. On Ready Reserve, we have 3 hours to get to the airport. So it's just very hard. Where there's a will, I believe that there is a way. So I wrote them that, and they also wanted, I think that's the only thing they asked me for my application. They didn't ask about my insurance. They didn't ask about any, oh, I think they asked about some bank statements. I gave them that, and I sent that to them over email. Um, and then honestly, that's all they asked me for. And then I would say not even a week later, I didn't hear any response from them. And then a week later, I think they were like, "Oh yeah, your passport is being sent. Your passport is at the, office, postal office. Your passport will be sent on this day between this hour." And I got my passport. I opened up my passport and my visa was in there. So now I have my passport picture and then I have my French visa. And what I did after that is you have 3 months. You actually have 3 months to you have 3 months to um, validate your visa. So you have to go into France, you have to go to customs, you have to stamp your visa, and then once you stamp it, you have to pay the tax. The tax for the visa was around $230 to $250. And you pay that online. I would suggest that when you get your visa back and you have to validate it, that you pay your tax online, um, on a computer, because I tried to do it on my phone and it wasn't working. The things that you were supposed to click just did not show up on my phone. So go to a computer, go to the website, you'll have the number there, of what you're supposed to put your number in, um, and then it'll be on the application reference that they give you at the visa office, and then put that number in, pay your tax through credit card, and then your visa will be validated. Now, I have gotten 3 long stay visas, like I said before, but I have never had a chance to renew them because I've always had to leave the country for one reason or another. So, in 3 months, you will receive like I think an email and maybe a letter if you put an address on there on how to get your medical documents so that you can get medical insurance. That's included with a visa. You're not allowed to work, but you do have medical insurance in France, which I'm not sure why you would need to have medical coverage in France for the year before you get there, if when you get there 3 months after, you do have medical insurance. But it's good to be over covered, and you do need to be covered for that first 3 months. But I will say going to a doctor in France is much less expensive than going to a doctor in the US with no insurance. Mm. So I would just say if you have to and you don't have like insurance for the year, just get travel insurance for the first 3 months to cover you. And then you have to go see a doctor, make sure that make sure that all of your elements are documented, whatever it is, and then that you get the right treatment and that they know that you're healthy. And I think they just want to see like what things you have, I guess, or what kind of health you do have. Um, I guess I wanna make sure that you're healthy. So, after that, after a year, you can make a appointment at the prefecture in Paris, and then you can renew your documents, but you have to show the same documents again, like if you have money, if you won't be doing any professional activities in France, if you have insurance and all of that, if you have a place to live, accommodations. They wanna make sure that you're not gonna be a detriment to French society, and they're not have to put you on their social security kind of thing. So when I get there, I will tell you, um, what that process is to renew your visa. At this point, I haven't gotten to that point. So I'm going to be researching how easy it is to renew your visa. For me, I haven't been there long enough. I've lived there like 11 and a half months, 12 months. But when I lived there before, it was during the pandemic. Um, when I lived there and I was about to leave, I saw that there was this weird disease that was killing people in China and that it was rapidly spreading around the world. And at that point, I left. I went back to the United States and I never had a chance to renew my visa. So I really want to renew my visa this time. When I tried to call the office in Paris to renew my visa and get an appointment, I couldn't get through to anyone. I couldn't get an appointment, but it was made for me not to be there at that time. Because just imagine if I was stuck there during COVID and I didn't have, like, any resources, my resources were running low, like, there were a lot of mistakes that I made, like, I wasn't able to get a bank account, and I just gave up on that. I think that there's more technology now, like, there's credit cards that you can get with no international fees, there's bank accounts that you can get that don't take international fees. I mean, things are more advanced now, but the red tape in France is still there, you know? It's still amazing to me that you have to go to an office, they have to, like, check your documents, when all of that honestly can be done online. Like, they can make it so much more simpler. But after 5 years of renewing your visa, you're eligible for citizenship, and I just want to get to that point. So I'm hoping this time next year that I can renew my visa and I'll be on year 2, and then I'll be that much closer to being a citizen in France instead of starting all over, getting a long stay visa. But the last time I went to France, I had a wonderful time. I lived in Annecy, France, which is near the Switzerland border. A lot of people live in Annecy because they work for the UN and they just go over 40-minute drive to Switzerland and they work there and then they go back and enjoy a little boost in their income from the French euro, franc, and the Swiss dollar. Um, and Annecy is like a beautiful city. It's clean. I really enjoy that city over Paris. Paris is enjoyable because it has a lot of memories for me, a lot of high school fun and all the attractions. And, it's like a New York vibe. It's a great place to go, have fun, meet people. There's always so much attention I get living in France, in Paris particularly. Um, the men, it's just such a great time, but it's not a place that I really want to live. I don't wanna live in Paris. I would rather live in a more calm, um, more beautiful, more serene place that's walkable and the air is clean and I'd rather travel around to different places. Like last time I lived in France, I went to Marseille, I went to Lyon, I went to Grenoble, and where else did I go? Next time I want to go to Portugal. I want to go to Spain. Where else do I want to go? I want to go to different parts of France. I've never been to Bordeaux. Like, I definitely want to do different things. I think there's more to Paris than most people think, but also there's more to France than just Paris, if you know what I mean. Let me take a sip of water. So, if you have any questions about how to navigate getting a long stay visa, let me know. I tried to put all the details in this video and definitely drop your questions below. I am working on things I should've, would've, could've done when I lived in France, and giving you the tea on what you should do and learn from my mistakes. It's a digital download that I'm gonna have available if you want that, or if you have any questions about the process of living in France, moving to France, documentation that you need, just drop it below. And follow me on TikTok, Real Talk Tina. Follow me on Instagram, Real Talk Tina. Follow me here, to see these videos. And if you have more questions about how to get a long stay visa, what to do in France, just leave your questions there and follow me here. Bisous.